Tonight you will open the fridge. You will not think about it. You will grab something wrapped in plastic, heat it for 90 seconds, and eat it standing up. It will taste like almost nothing, and you will barely remember eating it an hour later. But your body was not built for this. Your body was built for something far stranger. For most of human history, there was no fridge, there was no menu, there was no guarantee of a next meal at all. And yet somehow, across 2 million years of hunger and uncertainty, your ancestors survived long enough to become you. What did they actually eat? The honest answer surprises almost everyone who hears it for the first time. You have probably heard the popular version. Cavemen ate meat, big slabs of it, torn off a woolly mammoth, roasted over a fire. It is a satisfying image. It is also mostly wrong. Here is what actually happened. For the vast majority of human evolution, meat was rare, unpredictable, and often unavailable for weeks at a time. Hunting large animals with stone-tipped spears is difficult. It fails more often than it succeeds. So what filled the gap? Plants, roots, bugs, bone marrow scraped out with a sharpened rock, whatever the season allowed. The primatologist Catherine Milton spent years studying the diets of wild primates to understand what early hominins likely ate before agriculture existed. Her research suggested something uncomfortable for anyone imagining a meat-heavy paradise. Early human ancestors were opportunistic omnivores. They ate what was in front of them, fruit when it ripened, tubers when the ground gave them up. Insects, which are shockingly high in protein and required no spear at all. Your ancestors were not picky. Picky did not survive. Now here is where the story gets stranger. Around 2 million years ago, something changed inside the human skull. The brain began to grow, not slowly, rapidly by evolutionary standards. A bigger brain needs more energy. Roughly 20% of your daily calories right now are being spent just running the 3 pounds of tissue between your ears. So where did that extra fuel come from if meat was so unreliable? The anthropologist Richard Wrangham proposed an answer that reshaped how scientists think about human evolution. Fire, specifically cooking. Raw food is hard to digest. Your gut has to work overtime to extract calories from it. Cooking breaks down fibers and proteins before they even reach your stomach, effectively predigesting the food outside your body. Wrangham's cooking hypothesis argues that the control of fire and the shift toward cooked food freed up enormous amounts of energy. Energy that used to go toward digestion could now go toward growing a bigger brain. Think about that for a second. The device you are using to understand this sentence right now may exist in part because your ancestors figured out how to roast a root over a flame. But cooking alone does not explain everything. There is another clue, hiding in something far less glamorous than fire: teeth. The anthropologist Amanda Henry examined dental plaque from Neanderthal remains, tiny fossilized deposits stuck to ancient teeth for tens of thousands of years. Inside that plaque, she found microscopic starch grains, grains from cooked plants, grasses, and roots. This was not the diet of a pure carnivore. This was the diet of a species eating a wide, varied mix of whatever the land provided, season after season, cooked and softened for easier digestion. Why does any of this matter to you scrolling through takeout apps on a Tuesday night? Because your body still carries the blueprint of that ancient uncertainty. You crave fat and sugar intensely because for nearly your entire evolutionary history, those calories were rare and valuable. A ripe fruit was not a treat. It was a jackpot. Finding honey was not dessert. It was one of the most calorie-dense discoveries a human could make in a single day. Your modern cravings are not a personal failing. They are an ancient survival strategy running on hardware that has not been updated in 100,000 years, inside a world that changed completely in the last 100. Consider what a single day of eating actually looked like, deep in prehistory. There was no breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There was searching, hours of it. Women in many hunter-gatherer societies, based on studies of modern-day foraging groups like the Hadza of Tanzania, spent much of the day gathering tubers, berries, and nuts, often covering long distances on foot. Men would sometimes return from a hunt with nothing at all, empty-handed after a full day of tracking. On those days, the gathered food is what kept everyone alive. This is the part that gets lost in the caveman with a club version of history. Survival did not depend on brute strength alone, it depended on knowledge, knowing which roots were poisonous and which were safe, knowing which season the figs would ripen, knowing how to crack a bone just right to reach the marrow inside, one of the most fat-rich, calorie-dense parts of an animal, often eaten before the muscle meat itself. Fat, not meat, may have been the real prize. Early humans reportedly favored the fatty organs and marrow over lean muscle whenever they had the choice. Lean meat alone, eaten without enough fat, can actually cause a dangerous condition sometimes nicknamed rabbit starvation, where the body cannot process excess protein without enough fat or carbohydrate to balance it. Your ancestors likely knew this instinctively long before anyone had a word for metabolism. So if you strip away the myth, what remains is something closer to this: a flexible, adaptive, endlessly resourceful diet. Whatever grew, whatever moved slowly enough to catch, whatever could be dug up, cracked open, or pulled from a hive without dying in the process, cooked when fire was available, raw when it was not, shared more often than not because a single successful hunt fed far more mouths than one person could eat alone. That sharing might be one of the most important ingredients of all. Food scarcity meant that isolated survival was nearly impossible. You needed a group. The group needed you. Every meal was, in a very real sense, a social contract written in bone marrow and berries. Does any of this sound familiar? It should. You still eat in groups when you can. You still crave the rich, fatty foods your ancestors once had to work for all day. You still feel a small thrill when food is free, unexpected, or abundant. The same thrill your ancestors might have felt discovering a tree heavy with ripe fruit after weeks of scarcity. The difference is that scarcity is gone for most of the people watching this right now. The jackpot feeling remains, but the jackpot itself is available around the clock, on every corner, wrapped in foil. Your brain has not caught up. It still treats sugar and fat like rare, precious finds, even when they are sitting in a drive-through window 40 feet away. There is something almost humbling in that. Underneath the app on your phone, underneath the drive-through menu, underneath the delivery notification buzzing in your pocket, there is still a hungry, resourceful animal running calculations that are 2 million years old. An animal that once survived on marrow, insects, wild tubers, and whatever the season allowed. An animal that learned to cook, and in doing so may have built the very brain now reading these words. So tonight, when you open the fridge and grab something without thinking, pause for just a moment. You are not choosing food. You are answering an ancient, patient hunger, one your ancestors spent 2 million years learning how to satisfy with almost nothing at all.